Welcome back, guys, to the Hoser Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Dave, with my panelists, James and Logan, and we have a big show today. A lot to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about. A lot of news just
there's
dropped.
some big
First things
news.
first, we need to get into the Reinbacher injury. 5 to 6 months for David Reinbacher on an injury that did not look that serious to begin with. He kind of fell on his
Hmm
leg after a weird hit from Rafai. And last night or yesterday, Tony Marinaro, who's I'm not gonna say a Habs insider, but he's connected. He has a podcast. Was basically saying that both Reinbacher and Line injuries are long term. Line's is a notch worse than Reinbacher's, and I mean, we've both seen the news today. It ended up being the opposite.
Yeah,
Looks like Reinbacher's out 5 to 6 months, which is devastating for him and his development. And Line is only out two to
I
three
saw two to
months
three
and no
months.
surgery,
That was an
which
interesting
is
one, which
crazy.
that makes sense though, because if it was a sprain without a tear, that is one that you just rehab without
Yep.
surgery. Because
That's
that's
what I
one
was
where, yeah,
wondering too. It's
that's
just
how
one
it
of those
works with
cases
those.
where it looks way worse than it actually is.
Yeah, it was one where, like, thankfully, it's like, I guess it must be that he just didn't have that
I
much
saw
weight
people
on
saying
that
that
leg at the
that the
time.
not a lot of weight on the leg, the equipment bending might have made it look worse than it actually was as well.
Yeah,
Like his shin pad and stuff might have made it look like the angle was all off when in reality it looks like it's just a sprain,
I
which
could
is
see
great,
that
you
if the
know?
knee pad rotates around a little bit on the hit to the
Yeah.
inside, it could just look like the entire socket's popped out when it's just the equipment moving.
Well,
Obviously, 2 to 3 months is still a serious injury, but it's he should be
dude,
so thankful to get away with
every
the
single every
sprain.
single fan, every single player on the team, everybody's just like, you know what, we'll take it.
Yeah,
2 to 3 months, it looked like it was the season. He should
that's
be
the
back in
difference.
January. There's a whole lot of hockey left to play. If the Canadians can get some wins and hang in there and add him in the spring around January, they
Exactly.
should still be on track to be in the mix as
hmm
all of management has and stuff has been saying all season, which is their goal this year. It didn't look like they're going to be in the mix potentially with him out all season, but if he's only out for 2, 3 months of the actual regular season,
hmm
right? Like, because that's starting now. Right, you're still a week till the regular season even
Oh yeah,
begins,
it's a
right?
week as of I think it's I can check that in the calendar. I think it's a week as of today, if I am not
So
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
if we say we can say 3 months from October 1st, that's November, December, January 1st.
So that start of
If
the new year, he's back.
I don't
That's
think he'll be
halfway
ready
through the
then,
season,
but
maybe not even.
midway through January, even start of February, if he's back, that's huge. That is so
hmm
huge.
If he's back before the All-Star break, that is absolutely massive for
And there's
Yeah.
Montreal.
definitely a good chance of him being back by then. If it's only at two
Mhm.
to three months, like the chances of him re-hurting himself in his rehab, assuming it's a strain, is shouldn't be super high.
It shouldn't be
Fortunately,
super
though,
high. With the knee, it
yeah.
can be, especially just like some little twists can set you back by a few days.
Well, with we have a slightly longer regular season this year too, with Four Nations, right?
hmm
So
That's
even that,
also,
like,
I see that as well as a really good thing for the timing because he will be back before the Four Nations tournament.
yeah,
And it's not like I don't think Line is going to make the Four Nations tournament. I'm
no,
not entirely sure, especially with
I don't
the
even think
with his
Finland's in it.
injury.
No, it's
Yeah,
only
it's
oh
yeah,
Finland
it's
is it's
yeah,
Finland
Finland's
and
in it.
USA, Finland, Sweden.
yeah.
Those are the four teams.
Those are the four teams.
Line could have made it. I think with this injury, it puts it out of question. But what I see is, let's say Line comes back somewhere early to mid-January. He plays for a month, and then he then
It's
has like
so
a 2 week break, basically, where
I'm sorry,
they're in
but
that Four Nation tournament.
that's such a joke that those are the only four countries. No
It really
Germany,
is. Germany makes sense because
no
Germany there aren't
Czech,
enough in the
no
NHL.
Slovakia.
Czechia, the Czech Republic is a ridiculous one because there are enough NHL players to field a roster. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Fuck
but
it,
if they
just
added five, they needed to have a more than they needed eight is what they would have wanted.
You could have
just
five, have like a one round robin with those five teams, and then have like, oh,
make a
the
One
team
top,
Europe.
then same thing, make the top two play each other.
yeah,
Or
and
Make a team Canada, team USA, team Northern Europe, team Central Europe. Central
and
Europe has
having
Germany,
a,
Slovakia, Czechia. North Europe has Sweden, Finland. I don't really think
Russia.
I think splitting up
I
Sweden
don't
and
think
Finland
there's going
makes
to be any
sense. There's a lot
Russia,
of Swedish and Finnish players.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and they
Mhm.
don't like each other, but
There's
the
also
Team North
there's a lot
America was
of
such a cool thing that they did before.
mhm.
and
Team North
stuff. Like
America was probably the most
And
fun
was
team to
awesome.
watch
That
at
was
Team Europe
the
is
awesome.
also really
Yeah,
fun
at the
too.
World Cup of Hockey.
yeah,
I just enjoyed watching Team Europe play. Was
Hmm.
for
tries
sure.
it on.
Honestly, just do that again. Just two teams: Team North America, Team Europe.
And you're
Best
set.
players from each. That wouldn't that be awesome? Make it like a 7 game series. Who cares? Like, wouldn't that be sick? Everyone
Yeah,
would watch that. That'd be awesome. Give it a little playoff vibe to it. Like,
Just in
I mean,
general, North America against all of Europe, two teams.
the players aren't. No one's playing for North America. No one's playing for Europe. They're playing for their country. So,
yeah.
as much as
Hmm.
fans as we might like the product and stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean as much to the players as it is putting on your country's jersey versus whatever this idea is.
Hmm.
But anyways,
I think we
bring the
should talk
discourse
about
back to Line A
I think we should talk about
and
Reinbacher's more
Rhinebacker.
because you had some insight about his development in
Yeah.
previous years that I
So
wasn't so sure that I didn't know as much about,
he's had, I think, three knee injuries now.
including this one.
Yeah,
Right.
he was hurt early. I don't know if it was just before his draft year or during his draft year. He had some knee issues. Medically, he has some sort of knee disease thing that came out that I don't know much about it, but I know at the time the idea was it wasn't very important because it's more a thing that only really affects you when you're really young and you kind of grow out of as you get older was the idea. I'm not so sure about that anymore.
I mean, that could be the case,
As
maybe
far as I
minus
know,
having
well,
sustaining massive
yeah,
injuries to it. Because if you keep injuring
last year
something that's
it was a different
chronically,
knee. As far as I know, this is he doesn't really seriously injured this knee before. Like it's not like it's a recurring injury on the same knee. It seems like it's a new injury.
personally, I
But
almost
as
see that as
far
worse
as
because if you have history injuring both your knees there, it elevates your injury potential in the future so drastically when you have both knees that could
yeah, for
potentially
sure.
get re-injured.
And when you have a medical history with it too, I'm really
Hmm.
worried. I think this is reminding me of Oli Olevi, just too
Hmm.
much. Like it, there's no stating how big of a year this was going to be for him. Considering last year with Cloten, that team was so abysmal that he did play a lot of minutes and stuff,
Hmm.
but it wasn't as valuable of development time as it would be him playing in North America with a more competitive team and a more competitive environment.
Hmm.
People
And
are
even
saying that
the
he might be back for the Laval playoffs. I think that's unlikely. I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs,
Yeah,
but
especially since so many of the you expect so many young players to be
he was going to
making
be
that
their
jump
number
to the
one defenseman.
NHL.
He
Oh, no
Reinbacher and
question.
like he was going to be their guy in the AHL
Hmm.
this year, and this sucks.
You have to
Brian Wild,
consider,
who's with I believe Global Montreal, I follow him. He's a great follow. He was saying that the way he sees it is with the way medical technology is now and the way that players can actually, in his words, be healed up to 100%. He doesn't see it as being like it just delays his development, I guess, since he's A, still really young, B, the younger you are, the better you're going to heal.
mhm.
He seems to believe that it'll just kind of push that timeline back a little bit. And that's what I hope to believe too. I'm not so sure because we've seen too many times players have those injuries early on and they kind of never get back.
Hmm.
Most notably Sidney Crosby, right, with
Yeah,
the concussion stuff. But
that
I don't
took him quite a
that's a
while to get
completely different thing.
completely
Um,
different player. But yeah, you do look at that, and it took him took him a couple seasons to get back to the level he was at
he
after
never got
having
back
those
to the
concussions.
same level. Crosby,
Actually, yeah,
he
that's true.
never.
Crosby was he was
He could have
pushing
been
he
the
was
GOAT. He could have been the GOAT. Like, and he just never like he was so much better than
mhm.
everyone else that even like at whatever 80, 90% of his potential he is now is still one
Oh
of the
yeah.
greatest players ever to skate on the ice. But before that, his trajectory, like it's crazy. It's crazy. And that was head injuries. Knee injuries are a different thing. I think you can argue that it's almost worse a knee injury because for a hockey player, like it's a very vulnerable part of your body to have
Hmm.
any higher of a likelihood of an injury there than already exists is just
Hmm.
that's already so bad
In
by
the long
itself.
term,
But
the impact it can have on your ceiling and your potential is far greater. Because if you can't skate the same way, you won't be the same player.
now the argument with Reinbacker is that first of all, he was never like a Lane Hudson, like a Quinn Hughes, like a Adam Fox, like a blow you away with your skating, walk at the blue line, like that was never his game. He's always been a very cerebral player, good
Hmm.
positioning, good stick, good stuff like that. Like he doesn't really rely on his athleticism and his speed as much as other defensemen. So the argument is
Hmm.
that, if it was a different player, like let's say I'm gonna touch wood, I'm gonna like just duct tape a piece of wood to my back and just
You got
I,
you got
I'm
to
gonna
watch
I'm gonna
out here
I gotta
because
like
should one of
burn
us say
some
it
like
because we're not? Should one of
herbs.
us
Like
say it
I
because we're
can't.
not we're not the Habs
Yeah,
fans?
say it rhymes with Kane Butson.
Ah,
Say he
yes.
blows his knee out, right?
Don't you know the
That's
that
so much worse because when you watch him, he relies on that athleticism, that shiftiness, that thing. That's not Reinbacker's game.
it's
It
my
just
favorite
isn't. Like you
player,
watch
Kane
him and he's
Budson.
like, right? Uh, he sits back in his zone. He's a good pass guy. Like he's quick on the puck. He doesn't carry the puck quite as much as other defensemen do. He's very cerebral player. So,
Hmm.
this shouldn't impact his potential or his ceiling as much as it could other thing. It's very unfortunate, and I think that if it happens again, I think it's over for him. But if he
Hmm.
can
Especially if it
recover from this
happens again
injury,
next season.
if he can recover from this injury, maybe play some playoff games and have a great breakout season in the AHL next year, and then
Hmm.
maybe he comes into the NHL at like 23, that's fine.
For defensemen as well, that's not super late.
Yeah.
So,
And the Canadians do have young right-handed defensemen with a lot of
mhm.
potential. Logan Mailloux is one. Justin Barron's a guy that's been forgotten because he's a little older, but he still is so young and still hasn't
Mhm.
shown, why he deserved that trade that they traded Lehkonen for him. Um, so we'll see as far as I'm concerned as to whether Reinbacker can actually get back that, but it's just like everyone's so focused on the line of injury because of course. But as far
That's the
as
one
the
that
health of
impacts
the
Montreal
franchise
right
in the
now.
long term, Reinbacker is worth. Line A doesn't really matter.
No, Line
Like
was
he's
a
fun for this year, but he's not gonna get any better. Like he's 26, like he is what he is. Like we weren't even considering him as part of the team before the trade anyway.
Line
All
was
the
are
expectations
always a
on other
gamble the whole
players.
time.
Reinbacker is your former fifth overall pick. He
Hmm.
needs to hit, and you can't replace him with the draft because the
Hmm.
timeline just doesn't work. You can't just draft another top right D and then hope because like you got to match the Suzuki, the Caulfield
Exactly.
timeline where they're like 24, 25, right? They're gonna be in their 30s when Reinbacker is in his prime, right? So
Hmm.
it doesn't work. Like you gotta be very careful when you're building and planning a team with timelines and all that stuff. One guy's hit on their ELC, one guy's hit their big contracts, you want to have that injection of youth as you have guys you have to let go for cap space and reasons and stuff. And it
Hmm.
looks like the Canadiens have a lot of that framework set up, but injury luck has just destroyed it.
Oh, it's been absolutely awful. Ideally, you want Reinbacker getting into the lineup at the same time as you have Demidov hitting the lineup,
I think so, yeah. I think
and then
those
you
two
want
guys
yeah.
coming in together is ideal. And it's not
Hmm.
like the Canadians aren't looking into this season gonna be markedly better uh game one because the addition of Hudson and Doc is huge.
Hmm.
Doc we still have yet to be seen what he really is, but Hudson, I mean,
We've seen so many flashes with Doc, and it's
dude,
the same one. It's been so many unfortunate injuries. Really, thankfully, with his case in
I
terms of
cannot
long-term
I
injuries, they've all been bone breaks, which when a bone heals, it heals. Whereas
yeah,
if you have like multiple
for sure.
ligament tears,
For sure. For
muscle
sure.
damage, those are ones that will just
Doc should
suddenly
be good.
explode again.
He's
Yeah,
been
Doc has
unlucky with
shown that he can be
injuries, but they're
good.
all different parts of the body. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the Monahan situation where it's just you've been shit on and it sucks. But Monahan just played an 83 game regular season. Like I think the injury
Hmm.
concerns with him are gone. He was so
Yeah.
good last year. If
His it was
Monahan
just
can put
his
that behind him, Doc can for sure.
Monahan,
You
it was
know.
his as soon as he actually got surgery because he had to do a double hip surgery for both sides of his hip,
Hmm.
and you could really see it everything leading up until the surgery.
Hmm.
He was not the player he used to be. I That was when he was on the Flames, so I was watching him a lot. You could just see that every single stride was strained. He couldn't keep up with the plays anymore. His shot was off, and then he finally took the time off to get the surgery. And as soon as he came back, I don't think he's actually had any any injuries at all. Not like
He
whether
looks
it's
like a
minor or
star. He looks
significant.
like a star player out there.
Yeah,
Like when
because
he
he
was
took
with
the time to
Montreal
heal
last
it.
season, he was one of their he was their maybe second best forward
It's
after
so funny
Suzuki.
considering that injury as well, like a hip injury and hip surgery. Usually that would end players' career. And recently we've had two. We've had Monahan and Varlamov,
Hmm.
who have had that around the same time, and now neither of them have actually had any injury since. And Varlamov last year took the starting goalie job from Sorokin for a huge chunk of the year.
For sure. Now, what do you think of this? Tonight, the Canadiens play the Senators,
Mhm.
and
They should
their
dress no.
Senators are playing a full lineup.
It should be the
Canadiens basically
ACHL team.
dress no one, but Doc is number one center. And I like, yes, you
Ooh,
need to get in some games, but I look at
you're
that and I
tempting
go,
fate.
just you're tempting fate. Don't even play him.
You're
Like the
just
rest of the roster is just guy. Like they have Dvorak in there and
yeah.
like Wah and like those guys are good players, but they're
You
not
need to be
like
playing hopefully Pizzetta in there.
I only player I would put. Yeah, I think Pizzetta's. I don't know.
Shakai,
I think he's
Pizzetta,
in there. They got a bunch of guys, but I
all the
just roll
guys who
Doc
can
out.
just bang heads together.
Who
Who's
cares?
the
This who
home team?
cares?
Watch it. Check.
Home team tonight. I'm not sure.
I think it's Ottawa. If
I
Ottawa's
think it's
before
I think that
Ottawa.
game.
sounds right as well.
The Canadiens have played quite a bit of home games so
No,
far this
Montreal's
preseason.
home. So I mean,
Montreal's home. Well,
Well,
I
when
never
mean,
mind.
then the coach can control the matchups
There we
then.
go.
yeah, but even I mean, as I say, with Montreal being home, um, usually they expect to see more of their star players out
Yeah,
to
Hmm.
get the fans going,
yeah.
whatnot.
Well,
And
I
I think
think the fans understand if they don't see anyone tonight. I
I
think
think
they're
it's
all like, you know
also
what?
All the fans
Like if
right
I
now are just
if
crossing
I'm
their
a fan, I'm
fingers.
going,
They're
woo, Michael
biting their nails.
Pezzetta, let's go. Brendan Gignac,
If they were
woo,
I
seeing
you
mean,
even
know,
someone on like their bottom
Christian
six,
Dvorak.
they're like, yeah, I want
We
to
got
see top line
Gallagher
center
in.
Jake Evans.
Exactly. Fuck it. Like, honestly, don't
Mhm.
even play him. He's a good penalty killer. You need
That's
him. Like,
true. He has
you know,
concussion history, so
should
you
have
don't want
just
that.
AHLers. Just to roll out AHLers versus, Kachuk and Stutzla and Batherson. Let them
Mhm.
all get walked. Who cares? Score doesn't mean
Evan
anything
has had
anyway. You get
one
to evaluate
concussion.
your
You don't want to
goalies,
risk it.
maybe put your starter in net and see, let him just get caved in on shots wise.
I mean,
Let them practice that.
there is also an argument of you give the guys a chance to play like Vancouver did last night with them putting out all of the guys who haven't made the team yet.
And then
Yeah,
going to
it's
a shootout
evaluation.
against
And
McDavid
then
and
go, yeah,
Draisaitl
so
and the
there's a
whole Edmonton
And then
roster.
Drysdale just collapse one from the top
Honestly,
of
like you,
the key.
as
Like,
everyone can
fuck.
probably guess, I'm not an Edmonton fan at all, but I have, even
Really?
watching that, I couldn't tell. Yeah, yeah, who would have guessed that? Who would have guessed that I don't like the Oilers? Anyways, I had to have some respect for just walking in at the top of the
Oh my
circles
God,
and
that was
taking
so
a slap
funny.
shot.
That was so funny.
It was
It's a
hilarious to
game that
watch.
doesn't matter, so I couldn't. I
Yeah,
as a person who also roots for the Canucks, I couldn't be upset with that too. It was just so funny.
it
I
was
also just,
amazing.
dude, Draisaitl. I love that guy. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's always got a good quote.
I love when interviewers egg him on too. Oh, just makes this game so much better. He's like McDavid really doesn't give you much.
Mhm.
Draisaitl will give you.
He
He'll give you
tries not
something.
to,
He'll
but you
give you
can.
a quote.
One
Oh
of the
yeah.
reporters always finds a way to just like poke him into
Oh
giving
yeah.
a good quote.
Oh
You can
yeah.
tell
Why
he
are you
hates
so
the
pissy?
reporters. You can tell he
Oh
just
yeah.
does not like any of them, but they always get
All
a good quote out
timer.
of him.
Oh man. No, you love players like that. That just show their emotions,
Yeah.
in an entertaining way. So
Mhm.
back to Line. Who
Yeah, I have
thought
the
that was only
same.
gonna be 2 or 3 months?
I was honestly shocked when I
What?
saw that. That's so like
Is this knee made
that's
of rubber?
nothing. It's
That dude's
that just means
superhuman.
it means he got so fortunate with some specific things. It means the meniscus must be fine because that's one that
I
takes a
think
lot
he's just
longer.
built like a truck.
It must just be, yeah. It must just
Because
be
you
that
look at
he's
Reinbacker, he kind of
worked
like
out the
gets
muscles
hit and
so
he's like a
well.
little tweaked and like, other people are saying with Reinbacker, like there's a lot of these little things, these little details that fans get. Uh, but one of the preseason games, he lost his skate blade and he had to skate back to the bench on one skate, like kind of like that. And people are saying that probably put a lot of pressure on his knee and stuff. Maybe that it wasn't
Hmm.
100% to start and like it just gave a lot of pressure that just that one play where he had to get back to the bench on
It
one
would.
skate. A lot of pressure on the knee stuff there, and then
All the
the next
stabilizers would be put under
next
so much
game or
pressure.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. And then he just kind of like
Hmm.
takes an awkward hit, and then I think what happened was I think it just fell on his own leg, and it's just fuck me. And then I have to
Probably.
go and I have to watch Mitchkov highlights. Like, do you think I have the appetite for that? Do you think I was like, oh, Mitchkov got a 3 point preseason? Like, no, you think if it weren't for Demidov, man,
Hmm.
I
And
would have
like the
nothing.
Line A1, you're not as concerned about. He was a reclamation project for them, and it was more,
He
let's see
was
if this
always like
team can
a
take a
yeah
jump this
high
season. But
risk or
Reinbacker is
low
supposed
risk,
to be
high
one of
reward.
the Reinbacker should be one of the pillars. He should be your top line defenseman going forward.
He needs to be a member of the core,
It should be
right?
him and Lane Hudson as the top pairing going forward,
Well,
really.
he's like your Jacob Slavin,
Yeah.
you know? Like he's like that. Like
Eating the
that's
minutes,
what
making
people
all
look
the good
and see.
plays.
Like when he's at his best, he's gonna be like that player. Now, Jacob Slavin, he doesn't like break a game open in the sense like a McDavid or like a Kaprizov or like someone where you can
Mm-mm.
see they get the puck and it's just everything opens up and they get no, Jacob Slavin does the opposite. He keeps the game closed in a sense.
I feel as
He
well.
stops those game breakers from breaking that game open. You need those players on your team as well.
hmm I find as well the two times a year that I really what the Flames play the Hurricanes and I really watch the game super closely. I swear every single one of those games, there's one moment where Slavin saves the puck off the line, where
Yeah.
Calgary, and then oftentimes recently they've been one goal games. Like, man, if Slavin hadn't just completely saved that goal himself and stopped that and shut down that play, we would have won this game. Instead, Carolina won
Yeah,
by a goal, and it
I think
was
Slavin's that he's the new Barkov in a sense, like he's the player that
mhm,
everyone thinks is underrated, but if everyone thinks you're underrated, you're kind of just rated. Like no
mhm.
one would say Barkov's underrated. Everyone knows He's fucking Stanley Cup champion. You know what I mean? Like
Watch people are
no one's longer
still
saying Barkov's most underrated. Everyone will say
people
Slavin's the
are
most
going to
underrated.
watch. There are gonna be
Yeah,
people who are like Barkov still reigning Conn Smythe winner. Barkov is the most
yeah, you
underrated.
know. There are
Slavin,
people
I
who
think,
there are people who say the Leafs are going to win the cup. Like you can't
yeah,
take
that's true.
anything anyone says seriously.
I
You
know that
know,
Slavin, if you're if you're really like a like a super fan of hockey, you won't say he's underrated. But if you're just a casual fan, then he definitely
no,
would
for
still be
sure.
really
If you're
underrated.
just a
Like,
casual fan, you probably
who
don't
is
know who
this
that guy
person?
is. Yeah,
He doesn't put up enough points, so how would I know who he is?
for sure. For sure.
hmm
Yeah, so I Line A being back in 2 to 3 months though is just
That's
insane. Like
huge.
I honestly
I can just
like
imagine it for him as well as a person to hear that news. Because I'm sure in the moment he was thinking, I'm done for the season. This is awful. And now he has that, he can see the light at the end of the tunnel where he could be playing again, and it's only 2 to 3 months. And
it's so huge for the players too.
you were talking about how Cole Caulfield was was already talking. He was going to go pick Liney's brain about a whole
Yep.
bunch of
Yep.
hockey knowledge and training. And I just love that Cole Caulfield can be the golden retriever just to
Oh, for
keep
sure.
Line busy so he doesn't,
They got a couple
get too
guys like
lost in his
that. They got
thoughts.
Cole. Slav is kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Like he gets mad, but he's also always joking and like just like seems like a
hmm
bubbly guy. Suzuki is very serious. Um,
hmm
Lane Hudson is kind of I don't know. I don't know what he's like because he seems like he's always smiling, but he
I
doesn't
think we got to see the
talk a lot.
interviews.
Yeah, I know. We got to see the interviews. He's a gamer though. Like you can tell he is not like to lose. I mean, none of these guys
Mm,
do, but you
no.
some guys you could just tell all their personality just revolves around winning.
Hey, we talked about PLD last episode. We don't need to.
Yeah, we don't need to go back over the same strokes. Yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure.
every other player seems to like to win. Not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
Single him out again.
whoops,
Do
got
another
a
segment on
whoopsies.
hating on PLD.
I
See
don't
if
know
we
if
can
we
get
need
him
to.
to tweet at us. No.
First day we need an X account.
Yeah, exactly.
I should get on
So
that.
yeah, Line A, no surgery. No one saw that coming.
No, I didn't at all. I thought
That's
it was
like
season over.
here's the thing is going in, everyone's all thinking the Reinbacker injury wasn't going to be as serious. Line is more serious. Like now, if I could switch the timelines for the two injuries, I might. Like if I could swap it, Line's out for 6 months, Reinbacker's out for 2 to 3. Like I might do that. That might be better for the long term health of the organization. But that's not how it works.
No.
But the Reinbacker news is devastating. The Line A news is great. Um, I'm gonna be watching the Canadian Senators game tonight,
hmm
just hoping that these players just go out like it's a free skate, like it's like a puck's in the corner. Don't really feel like it today. I think I'm just gonna hang back.
Who needs to dump and
I'm not
chase
gonna
when you
get in
can
front of
dump
that
and go for
shot.
a line change?
I could carry the puck in the zone, or I could just dump it in the corner and skate to the bench. That's what I want to see
Yeah.
from the guys tonight. If they get beat 21-0, I don't care. Just don't get hurt. Just
hmm
don't get hurt.
Like if you're one of the people like Kirby Doc running in there, Christian Dvorak,
I hope
Just
Kirby
ride the
Dach
bench.
plays
I want it.
5 minutes
Yeah,
tonight, all on the
exactly.
power play. He gets 3 shots on goal, and he has a good nap
Average
and a
skate speed
nice
of
meal
like two
after the game.
kilometers
That's
per
all I
hour.
care. I don't give a shit. The blood, I want to see blood on October 9th, not tonight.
Yeah, I'm watching that game. That
Oh,
is going
Reeves
to
versus
be
Jackeye is going to open the
brutal.
season, and it's going to be great. That's going to be the start of the season
First,
for the Leafs and the Habs is Reeves Jackeye.
I hope they
It's going
put
to be
him out
great.
on the opening
Oh no,
faceoff. Why not have
it's
Jack
gonna
guy
be it's
take
gonna be
have Jack guy take the opening faceoff? Why not?
like the coaches are Craig Berube and Martin St. Louis. Like those guys both know. Like they know. They know what the fans want.
Mhm.
They know what the players want. They both know. They're both hockey players. Like they know
I
who's
trust that
who's
they'll
gonna be starting.
also have it happen really early so they can just
Yeah.
get it to the side and move on with the game. They know that the fans need this to happen. So it's okay, like second shift, we're gonna have a offside or something. Put those two out there, let them go at it, and then just forget about it for the rest of the game.
I think it's gonna be center ice. I think they're gonna take the face off. I don't think it's gonna
Just
matter who's
right
gonna
off the
win. I
start.
think they're gonna face Suzuki and Matthews and Caulfield and Slafkovsky and Nyes are all just gonna stand there watching Jackeye and Reeves just fucking go at it.
They're saying we should expect a Canucks Flames 2014 sort of situation here,
I think
where the,
so.
the Canucks put up
Maybe
the
not.
X face-off dot just to start that fight.
Maybe not where the coach
Yeah.
tries to fight the other team.
Well, that's just torch being torch.
Oh man.
That'd be a bit too far.
Duh.
I
I
want
love
to
love me
worth
some
noting with
torts.
that thing that with that one clip there, the player that's kind of holding Torts back or is right next to Torts is Brian McGrattan.
Hmm.
Uh one of the who's enforcer. Like I think I was at the game where he scored like his only ever career goal or something like that. And yeah,
Good for him.
if you're
You
Torts
know.
there, you could have picked a better player to start arguing with as opposed to the enforcer.
I don't know, I think that's just a tribute, not tribute. It's a test to how mad Torch was. By mad, I
Yeah.
mean like kind of crazy, not
Mhm.
like
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
ready to go after anyone.
yeah. I mean,
I
also
wouldn't
kind of
fight torts. He'd kill
no.
me.
I think also
No.
fires up the team, seeing your coach also that mad going at the other team. I
hmm
think that's got to give something. Like I feel like
Yeah.
hmm
I feel like if I was Montreal going into that game, I'd want St. Louis to be like, here's a
Did you
What?
guys watch any of the pressers of the Canadiens recently?
no, I haven't seen any of them.
St. Louis,
No, I
it's
haven't.
hard. It's hard to read St. Louis ones because a lot of it's in French. But
hmm
the one that I found that I think is the most important to go watch is his press conference right after Line got hurt. If you just look at his facial expressions and his body language, he's devastated, angry, up everything. I remember he was talking and he had a little like a Dasani water bottle cap in his fingers and he was spinning that bottle cap. Like he was so emotional and he did his best to hide it, but you could see in his eyes, you could see and then you could see in the interviews after like the facial shots of Kirby Doc like right after Line got hurt and then like in the post game interview, like he looks like, oh, this is what it was like, for the rest of the guys when I went out. It's this again.
hmm
And then, but now he's one of the teammates and he's getting the other perspective. And it just the look on his face of just like, not this again. And just like, I cannot believe in it. And then you could tell he's thinking of himself like, can I stay out? Like, how do I not get hurt myself? And there's a
Everyone on
meme
that
that goes
team is
around.
worried that it's happening again, that they're gonna have the
Yeah.
most man games lost
Yeah. Well,
again
there's a meme that goes
this
around on
year.
on on the internet, Habs side of the internet. I wish it could get sent every fucking year, but it's so funny. It's just like a compilation of Suzuki and Marty St. Louis on the bench, with Suzuki basically saying like, "How many more minutes must I play?" And then St. Louis like, "I have no one else, my son." And you could just see in Suzuki's face after Lina gets hurt. I'm just like, I'm gonna be playing 30 minutes every night this year
Yeah.
again. Just
It's like, oh, I'm gonna be the only player left healthy again by come November, and I'm gonna have to play 40 minutes a night just to keep our season afloat.
I mean, the we're backo meter though. like, okay, the Reinback injury sucks. He wasn't making the Habs this year. That's a development. That's a long-term thing. I really hope he
Hmm.
can get it back. I think he can. He's a really smart player. Like all things point to the Canadiens have the most, like one of the most, they're one of the richest teams. Like they're gonna spend billions of dollars on a fucking doctor to get this guy into ship
Hmm.
shape,
They
you
have a
know?
really good sports
Yeah,
medical.
like I think
Area.
they've also been very smart with injuries. They don't rush guys in. Like I think
Hmm.
Reinbacker, he's still young enough too. Like he's kind of in like it's kind of weird to call this a sweet spot, but I think that if you get injured like before your draft or really early or like later in your career, it's worse than like kind of like a year after your draft or something. Like you can still like there's not much difference. There's a lot of difference between like for example 16 and 17 as a hockey player. Huge.
Hmm.
Huge difference. 18, 19, huge. 22, 23, not as much. 21, 22, not as much. You know, like that kind of like 21 to like 23 area is like a lot of players the rate at which you get better and the rate at which you develop isn't necessarily like as steep as it is earlier. And
Hmm.
then later your body, can't quite heal his injuries. So I like as far as timeline goes for Reinbacker, I don't like I think this injury the start of the season sucks, but I don't think it's like the worst case scenario as far as timeline or like when an injury can happen kind of thing. Like I still think he's gonna come in next year and it just delays it. Like it just pushes it back, which is fine. Like if he can come into the NHL I guess a year after Demidov, he's not going to be in the NHL after this injury. Like he's going to need a year in the NHL. But Demidov will come
No,
in
absolutely not.
2025, and then Reinbacker in 2026 when he's like 24 or something. And I think that's fine. It's just about progress. It's not about winning the cup this year. It's not about winning the cup next year. It's just about getting better every year. And if Reinbacker doesn't come in next year, if he comes in the year after, that's fine. Like they weren't expected to win the cup this year, next year, the year
No.
after. It's 5 years from now when it's like, all right, that's your window. You need to be competitive, and I still think they will be. But this injury luck is horse shit. But hey, who isn't happy to hear the line of news?
It's amazing.
Like
And that
just for everyone,
also,
like
yeah.
2 months is not much. And even if it's three, like it's still like it's a long season. And
That's
hey, you're gonna
half
get
the
a look
season.
at a
That's
few
like
guys.
there's a
They're
chance
gonna have
he's
a
back before the halfway mark of the season, which
oh,
makes a
he should
huge
be he should be
difference.
back before the halfway mark.
Hmm.
Like I said, like 3 months from now is January. And with the Four Nations and
Exactly.
stuff, that kind of pushes the regular season along. And
Hmm.
it gives a chance to evaluate other guys too. Like Oliver Kapanen was a player that has looked very impressive in training camp and through some preseason games. And that was the first name out of Jeff Gorton's mouth in an interview the other day when asked about, like who's the next man up. Oliver Kapanen is the guy. If he doesn't make the team, he's gonna have to go back to Europe, and he does not look like he looks like an NHL player. Very complete hockey player. Like he doesn't really have like a lot of holes in his game, and just a wicked shot. So I'm really excited to see him for the first few games, and I'm really happy for the guys that they have that seed of hope to hang on to. Like, okay, Laine's hurt, but like he's gonna be back. If we just
Hmm.
can win some games and be in a good spot for when he gets back, we could still push for playoffs this year. And
Exactly.
just having that mentality versus when Kirby Doc went down in game two, when it's like there's no help along the way.
No,
There's
right
no
away the whole
guy.
season is in jeopardy
Yeah.
with
Now you
one
start the
injury.
season, Line's out, but he's coming back. You're not starting the season
Exactly.
thinking you're gonna have a whole roster and then boom, it's gone. Like it's a different thing. I really
Honestly,
hope they
like
can stay
they're
healthy.
mentally for other teams, they should watch out for the Canadians because they're going to have that level of anger to the way they play. They're going to be wanting to win games for Patrick Laine. Just thinking
Yeah.
like he's going to be back. We need to make sure we're in a good position.
If they can channel the
This is
emotions
not happening this
properly,
time. This is
for
not happening
sure.
again this year.
For sure.
You could
Yeah.
see them
I
be
just
really dangerous with that type of
I
mentality.
just hope they're not reckless. Like I hope they're
No.
not putting themselves in bad positions going after for guys and stuff. Not necessarily game wise. Like I don't really care if a Jack Eye blows a defensive assignment, you land a big hit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more
That's what
about
we
I'm gonna
expect
land a
from
hit on a
him.
guy and potentially injure myself, or I'm gonna get like Slavkovsky fighting, for
Or get myself
example.
suspended.
We should talk about that. Did you guys see the Slav fight
I did see this last
where
fight.
he pulled the guy's hair and then got one shot dropped? That was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see the emotion from Slav, but
Did you
he's
also
got to
see
take
though
some fighting
that
lessons, man. That was terrible.
Rafai was bleeding. Line drew blood. Sorry, Slavkovsky drew blood in the fight.
I don't know how.
I don't know. He
Like it
got a
was the
few good
worst
hits
fight
in
I've ever
before.
seen.
It was a terrible
He
fight, and he
did,
got
and
a
he grabbed his
couple really
hair, and
good
then he got dropped.
hits.
But it was like
Grabbed the hair
whatever.
and then got one punched. It was one of the weird, like the complete flips
Yeah,
of
that
fights
was.
ever.
And the Josh Anderson fight too, where they just spun in circles for a while too, was
Yeah,
pretty
like
great.
that was a weird one because Josh Anderson seemed like someone who if he was fighting, I wouldn't be concerned at all. Whereas Slavkovsky fighting, you're just there.
Yeah,
You're just
don't
there
break your hand,
praying the whole
man.
time. Like, oh my
Don't
gosh,
break your
please
hand. But
don't
you
break
know,
a wrist here.
that's
Don't.
that's something that he's gonna have to do though.
It's
Like it's not
probably
like
good that he
big
does
star
that.
players still have to be physical and drop them every once in a while, you know?
Usually you see it where
Like
if a player earlier on drops the gloves once and actually has a fight where they show that oh maybe they have a little
yeah.
bit of insanity in them. That gives
But
them a
like
little bit more room. And then every time you're thinking of getting in their face, you're like, oh, this person
yeah.
I could get into a fight with this person. I'm
But
not
like
sure I
if
want to.
Stutzla gets blown up, Kachuk is fighting. Is that a question?
No.
Kachuk is gonna kill somebody.
Oh yeah.
Stutzla gets turned into a like it's squished like a bug along the glass. You think Kachuk's not out there like trying
Oh,
to
the other
commit
person had better
murder?
get to the bench
No.
real
Of
fast.
I
course.
feel. I mean,
Kachuk's the best player on the Senators. I think everyone can agree on that.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah.
100%.
And he's gonna be the guy that if you rock, my line mate, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That's Slap. Slap. The idea, the vision the Canadians have for Slap is at least Kachuk, hopefully better. That is part of
Yeah.
the game. You need if you're 6'3",
Hmm.
220, 230 pounds, and someone goes after your guy, you're fighting. Doesn't matter your skill level, doesn't matter anything. Fuck, Matthews fought
He has credit for a
three
fighting major.
ply freaking or one ply leaf player. I don't know. If it was more ply softer? I guess
He
it is.
got, I'm not
40
sure I
ply
want to
leaf
count
player.
the, I'm not sure I want to count that as a fight because I watched it and it was basically Stamkos dropped the gloves and grabbed onto him and then they both just got fighting majors for not fighting.
Yeah, it was
But he
pretty.
did at
I
one
mean,
point. At
the
one point
attempt was there.
he
Like
did
he
at one point
answered.
though
Yeah,
he did get suspended for cross-checking Rasmus Dahlin in the head, which is
Uh,
not something I approve of, but as a star
that's not
player,
like a tough guy play though.
Yeah.
but
That's just a cheap shot.
that's a type of
On.
thing. That's a type of thing though where gives you a little bit of room. It's like if you're trying to get into Matthew's
That's
fate,
true.
maybe you
McElbow,
have that
skating like
one.
this.
Yeah, if there's a flying elbow in there,
Yep,
you have that
he
nagging
makes
thought
room.
and like, hey, he might just turn around and cross check me in the face.
Yeah,
And sure, it gets him suspended, and maybe that's a good thing if it's a playoff series and you manage to get Matthews out for a game. But you also the players don't generally like getting cross checked in the head. I don't know about you, but
yeah.
personally, I don't really like it.
I could see the odd few who might be down for that, but
I think
by
one of
and
them.
large, I'd agree.
I think one of them might be Brady Kachuk because that dude is
Yeah.
insane. Like, have you seen
Oh
the
Yeah, he
yeah,
video of
won
him
once.
going around yelling Megamind at that?
he literally eats staples for
Yeah.
breakfast.
I
Like
remember a
Brady
fight
Kachuk
between
is.
him and Brendan Lemieux where Brendan Lemieux bit him and drew
Oh,
blood.
everyone remembers that. Oh, that was awesome.
That was
That made my month. Him holding the
that was
teeth marks on his
hilarious.
hand going was
Like you could
so
see
funny.
it.
Yeah.
You
And
could
I
he
see
w
that
looks
that was
insane. There's so
yeah.
many good. Brady Kachuk is one of the players that has like, I'm chronically online on hockey Twitter and hockey Reddit and all this stuff. And like the amount of just stills I've seen of any player is high. But Brady Kachuk specifically has just this ability that when you just take up any frame of his face, it is the funniest thing you've ever
Yeah.
seen.
I also have so
What an
many where if I
emotive
see it
play.
on my phone, I'm worried he's gonna come through my screen and murder me because he just looks
Yeah.
like he has that much
He looks like he has that
insane hatred in
supernatural,
his
like,
eyes.
demon ability to, yeah, like, affect you
Yeah.
through the medium of digital technology for
If he
sure.
just stares at me hard enough, I'm just gonna cease to exist.
There
Yeah.
are definitely two players who have that ability. Hughes, but not for the same reason. Hughes just looks depressed every time I see him. I just like, is
Oh
He
he
looks
yeah, he
so
okay?
looks like
funny.
he's
What
never
about
happy.
Quinn? Yeah.
Yeah, and then Brady looks pissed. Yeah, he is
Yeah.
he's an IBF.
He
Yeah.
looks yeah, he
Brady
look
looks pissed. Quinn looks like a lot of people say like a starving Victorian child.
He's looking ill, but that's because they saturated the photo. No, he
it's
just
like
looks
he's
depressed.
perpetually underfed and
Yeah. Like he
malnourished.
looks like a paper boy from like the year 1700 in England who's like dying of like,
He's got the
gangrene or
plague.
something.
He's
Yeah.
either depressed or he's terrified. It's one or the other. There's no in between.
Yeah. Mostly just like depressed, just apathetic, just like why am I,
Well, that's him. Like, if you've seen photos of him on the ice, he looks
yeah, it's great.
terrified. Although there is one photo.
And then Jack is the complete opposite, who just looks like
Yeah.
like a golden retriever, like James
Oh
was saying
yeah.
earlier. Yeah, good stuff. So I think we're
Just no
getting a little
matter
bit
what.
off topic, gentlemen.
Yeah, there's
Any
another.
last points you want to hit on the Canadians? I do want to talk about what you guys think as to whether Pare that was a dirty knee or not. Um,
I watched it more, and the more I look at it, because initially there's the question of since he was just leaning in with his whole body and then he caught him that, but watching it again and seeing some stills, you can see that as soon as Pare knew he was gonna miss the hit, he stuck his knee out a bit, and
that's what I
it
agree with too.
really I don't see any
Line was gonna
way that
blow
there
by him.
was.
I
Yeah.
do think Line could have put himself in a better position,
I think the way
but
Line
it's
was trying to
not
go through them
really on him.
wasn't.
It
No, he
wasn't the
shouldn't expect to
best,
get
but he would have been
expect that.
fine
Yeah.
if Pare didn't get realize he was getting beat and stick the knee out to get him. Like that's what
Yeah,
happened. Like if Pare doesn't stick that goes through the ice and likely creates a play or scores a goal or something, and you know the city burns down and hell freezes over and no, it's a preseason game.
yeah. The two sides, like yeah, sure.
Like
Line with his stride, he had his feet spread so far apart. He was on the inside edge, which meant that both his knees are loaded, and also it's really hard to unload any weight off them.
when
And
people talk
there's the one
about
argument he shouldn't have gone in like that. He probably should be adjusting his
yeah,
stride a bit better
for sure.
so he can cut through them. But also Pare, there's no reason for him to stick his knee out like that. It's such a dirty play.
For sure. And people talk about pack mentality on teams, which is the idea that like one of your guys gets hit, everyone swarms him. You know, we saw that a little bit with the Pare hit. I'd like to see it more from the Habs, but you know, Slavkovsky, Anderson, Jack Eye, they all fought and stuff.
And also, I
But for the
don't
AHL
con.
guys, when Pare is on the ice, I don't think they're gonna forget it. I think
Oh,
that
if they're
I think
playing him in the
the
if you
Rocket
see
Marlies games this year are gonna be must watch as far as if you like violence,
if you see Pizzetta and Pare and like in the AHL here, they're gonna try to kill
yeah,
each
for
other
sure.
now.
It does any ex player
Anyone.
on like my you I could see doing it.
Watching
Um,
AHL games, their AHL games have the potential to be so much more violent than any NHL game. Just
oh
I
for
don't know.
sure.
It's sometimes there's the energy where none of the players just care as much, and it's
Well, there's a
really
lot of
boring.
players
And
that
sometimes everyone is trying to take each other's heads off all game
yeah,
long, and it's both entertaining but also extremely scary to watch because you're watching your farm team, and oftentimes you have sometimes you do have some players out like we had Brent Sutter, for example, as the captain of the Wranglers up until this season, and it's like okay, he's going to go and try to knock some heads together, but if you have it's like Matt Coronado down there. You're scared the whole time that someone's gonna try to knock his head off.
for sure. And that's the reason why a lot of teams don't put their prospects in
No.
AHL. They just jump them straight to the NHL because that's where the talented players are.
Hmm.
Logan, what did you think of the Pare hit?
I haven't seen many photos of it. Only saw the photo that was sent to me. And from what I was looking, it looked like he was definitely going. He got his shoulder down. He was down low. He was definitely going for the hit. And I do understand the aspect of him putting every part of his body on that line to make that hit,
For
as
sure.
he's trying to make this team. He's like trying to earn his
Yeah,
spot,
he's
Hmm.
playing his game. He's playing his best
and he's
for
like, I
sure.
gotta make this team. I can definitely see him going, "Fuck, I'm gonna put something out here and just hope for the best."
Should have led with the shoulder, not the knee.
Well, he definitely. I mean, from the photo I saw, he definitely was like bent down, leading in shoulder.
Yeah, he was definitely trying to hit with his
I
shoulder
think his
there. It
knee
was
just
just a
went out.
split
Just
second decision of also putting his
Yeah,
knee farther out
yeah,
there, which
but I
it's
haven't seen
so hard
videos of
to
it, so
yeah,
brutal
it's so hard to judge in that split second moment there. I don't know,
for
it's
sure. It's
um,
unfortunate, but
mhm.
obviously we got condemned. Like, people are fucking insane, man. Send him messages and his family messages. Just stop that. Like, stop that. I mean, I don't
No, you
know.
got to move on.
I don't even know if you can really talk to these people. The kind of people that like send death threats and stuff to people.
There's no reasoning with
Like, are they
them.
just
Something
edgy
that's just
teenagers who aren't going to listen to reason anyway, or they what? I don't know. Just fuck off.
yeah.
Like, I mean, I was emotional after the line I hit too. But
Hmm.
that's just a step too far. I'm not gonna lie. I was saying some pretty shit like, fuck it. Why does this always happen to us? I hope the Leafs players, like, why don't they go get hurt? Like, but there's a level of just expressing your frustration at that versus like going out of your
Hmm.
way to find and message this person is just insane. But
Exactly.
I think that's enough on Laine
Probably, yeah.
linebacker and stuff. But
Because there's
that
another
definitely
really
is the
big
big
story.
news.
There's another massive story
Yeah.
that's
Well,
dropped.
I honestly think we might have 64 million
I
reasons to talk about this next story.
yeah, you beat me
Before
to it.
we
I think that there's who
before we
knows,
move
maybe
on
now
to
there's
that,
100 million reasons for us to talk about this thing, right?
62.4 million reasons, actually, exactly.
Oh
Logan?
yeah.
before we move on to that topic, I do want to talk one in between. What do you think about Njokovic for Pittsburgh getting injured after only 2 shots?
Oh, Nedeljkovic, he
Yeah,
got.
Nedeljkovic. That's a rough.
Oh, that's not good.
That sucks.
Do we
What
know? Do you know
do you know
more
what
about the
happened?
injury? What type of injury it
Yeah,
was?
I haven't heard
I've
about
read
this.
it. It's been his, I think it was his knee. I think he pulled it
Oh no,
when he was at cross crease. I haven't
How many
watched
knee
this thing. I
injuries?
just saw it being injured, and I saw him talking about the fact that Jari's
something in his knee
job
or groin.
could actually be on the line was how well the backup did for that game. Um, Bloomfist did after
Blomqvist,
the
yeah,
after Nugo got injured.
Nedeljkovic,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
yeah.
just
Um, do we have any idea like the timeline, like how long he's gonna be out? Because,
I haven't heard
you
anything
know,
about this.
no,
not a lot of people are high on Pittsburgh
it
currently.
No,
happened
and this is the
last
backup
night,
as well.
so it's
Pittsburgh. I don't know the impact this will have on their season. Although Nedeljkovic did have a good season last year. I
I think that
remember.
this is underratedly bad for the Penguins.
Probably because I actually
Because
think
like
last
now
year he had the better
all your eggs are in the
stats.
Jari basket, are they not?
yeah,
Like,
and
Basically, and
and
basically,
who do they have in the pipeline? Like, as far as I know, they don't have
no, they have basically no prospects
prospects
whatsoever.
like at all.
I mean,
They have guys that they can throw in Crosby's wing that'll score 30 or 40 goals every year that they just
Someone
plug
who
in
on
the
any
chair.
other
But
team
like
would be a
goaltending
13th forward
prospect,
and
like
get 30 goals with Crosby.
yeah.
honestly, do you think they pull the trigger on getting a guy now? Who's
I
available?
mean, they
I
have
don't
what's
think
his
there's
name?
anyone
They have
they could get
Bunting,
like Martin
who's
Jones is the goalie who's available right now, and I can't
well,
even think of any other one that is.
Lundqvist actually has done pretty well, so I think they'll keep him up. It's a matter of
Okay, well,
if
yeah.
Jari keeps his job up there, if depending on how well Bloomfist does. Because I know
Hmm.
Nurkovic was in the running to be starter halfway through last year. It was talks about him taking over the job when Jari started having a rough season. So it's definitely something to be interested about now that he's been injured
They
and
should
what
have
they're
got
gonna do.
Askarov when they had a chance.
Hmm.
It's not every day
Due
that
to
a
the,
potential starting number one caliber goalie is
I would have
available for
loved
trade.
it because now he's in the Pacific Division, which is great. I
Although if you're
love
the
that.
Sharks, or sorry, not the Sharks,
It'd
but
be great for him to
the
be in the Metro
Preds,
right
what has
now.
Pittsburgh got to give you?
Yeah, they don't have
Yeah,
Yeah.
any prospects at all.
last
Anyways,
year
Well,
I
they
we'll give
think
you
looked
that
one lightly used Chris Letang.
I do think speaking of goalies though, speaking of we should be talking about
What are you talking about?
we
I
should
don't
be
know.
talking
at.
about
Did
Jeremy
something
Swayman.
happen? Who's that?
Who's that guy? He's like the third string
Oh, he's the
goalie.
backup for the Bruins, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
their
Guy that
backup.
played behind Olmark.
That
Oh, did they
guy.
have to start him in the playoffs too? Because Olmark was out?
No, it turns out he was actually a really good goalie.
Oh, he's good?
It turns out he's actually
Oh, that's good.
really. It turns out he actually had really good numbers.
Oh, so we're talking, well, he's contract negotiations. He's probably looking for like, I mean, if he's a pretty good goalie, he's probably looking for like maybe 7 million a
Probably like
year.
no, it turns out he there's a good reason to believe here that he turned down an $8.8 million deal. 8 by $8 million deal. $64 million over 8 years.
Oh, but he turned it down? Oh, well,
I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious about James,
he's
what
insane.
the sources you have for that, because what I've seen so far is was that he wasn't offered that contract.
So I have two sides
His
of it. That's what I
agent.
want to talk about is because there was a press conference with the general manager with Cam Neely, and Cam Neely's quote was, "I have if I was him, I'd have 64 million reasons to be playing right now."
Yeah.
And then the other
Noted.
quote, I had the other
Noted.
quote here as
He
well.
did. I saw a funny meme where he picked up the water bottle before he said that. Someone said that the water bottle was talking to him like the Green Goblin mask, you know?
I think that just might have been a GM I'm not entirely sure because the other quote is
Watching
this is
that
a
press
report
conference and looking at
from
his body language and the way he's thinking, you can tell that he starts thinking about saying that about 30
Mhm.
seconds before he actually does. And the process of him convincing himself that he should say it, you can actually see visually take place on his face. And then when he picks up
Yeah.
that water bottle is when it's over. He's like, I have 64 million reasons why I'd be playing right now. And
Eventually,
then
he just
it was it his
saw
agent that
red.
came out and said that the
Yeah, I
highest
have the
offer they
quote
got
from the
was
agent actually. I
62.4
have
million
the thing from his
for
agent, which was
7.8. 7.8
so
million a year.
his agent Lewis Gross, who represents Swayman. One thing I heard notably is this was also the agent that represents William Nylander,
Hmm.
who
Dan Milstein?
is known for. Was it not Dan Milstein? Is it? No, Milstein's Marner.
Marner, right,
But
right.
Nylander, remember how he almost missed a season due to arbitration, came back in like December and had a terrible year in his first RFA negotiation. Lewis Gross says that they are extremely disappointed with the $64 million
Right.
reference in the press conference because it was the first time that number had been raised in
Oh, like they were gonna
negotiations.
take it if they offered it.
And prior to the press conference, there was no offer was made reaching that level. There are two sides of it because one,
There's one side
that's
of this,
why
and
there's
there's
two. I see
Jeremy and
two
his agent
sides
being fucking insane. That's the
because
side.
yeah, because in terms of, I'm thinking as well what it would take for a GM to say that at the press conference. I'd have a hard time believing that
He's never
that a
been a
manager.
starting goaltender.
Yeah, I don't know why a manager would say, "Oh, I
He
have
had a good
64 million
playoffs.
reasons
That's
why." That's
great.
basically an offer. But as an agent as well, I like
Like if
hate
he
me for
was
this. I
okay with
don't
eight
believe
by
the
eight, the
agent.
contract would be done by now. You think
It would have
like
signed
you
right
think they're
away.
not willing? Yeah, you think they're not willing to go up an extra $0.2 million on the AV? No, fine, they'd be willing to
No.
go for that. It's because he's asking for 9 or 10 because he's
Yeah.
ludicrous.
And this is one where I don't believe the agent on this because of the track record, like I talked for with Nylander. This is an agent that's proven he will hold a
I
player out of the lineup for months after the season started before agreeing to a deal. And with that
yeah,
contract, it was actually Nylander who came to the GM to get it done. The agent was ready to let him get past arbitration at the time. The agent at that point had put up a wall and said, "No, this is the number." And Nylander's the one who got that deal done in order to play hockey again. So when the agent says nothing was discussed, I just don't believe it based on the history.
Well, I mean, based off of Nylander's stats, Nylander played last year, even
This
though it was
was
in
not last
contract.
year. This was his first
His first
negotiation.
contract, you're
This
saying?
was when yeah, this was like 5, 6 years, this was like 5 years ago, something like that, 6 years ago, when Nylander signed his first deal as an RFA, where he didn't play games until December. And
was
he
it
had a terrible
Nylander or
season.
Marner that said they were gonna go play in Switzerland?
That was
Probably
Marner.
Nylander.
Marner.
That was Marner's.
Stupid.
That's also just a
And
brutal.
then they fell for it.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot. The clown car that ran the
Notably,
Leafs
in that
for a while
situation,
there,
Marner
man.
had turned down like a I can't remember how much. It was like a 12, $13 million offer sheet from
Oh my God,
Columbus.
dude.
So you knew he wanted to stay in Toronto and would take less than that to stay in
And
Toronto.
it's still going. You got Bradtree living at the fucking helm. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
it's
dude. The Leafs. Oh,
and this is the situation here where now if I was a Boston Bruins fan, I would be incredibly concerned because looking at the Boston
I would be
Bruins
fucking
cap right
messaging
now,
Swayman saying, "Who the fuck do you think you are?"
I don't know if it's Swayman or the agent or which one
Don't
is
actually
the
message
one.
players. That's fucked up.
Oh yeah, don't. It's ridiculous. Uh, where's it going with that? Boston right now, I think I was looking, has a 8.5, 8.6 million dollars of cap space. And throughout the season, if you have cap space on the team, in case anyone listening to this doesn't know, you accrue cap space. So a certain amount of what you have, you can accrue more. It expands by like
Hmm.
25.
Yeah, if you're under the
Yeah,
cap, the amount that you're under, you can build that up and spend it, right?
exactly. So
There's reason to want to be under the cap. It's a good thing
yeah. So
for
right
your
now,
team, for your
If Swayman signed an 8.8, 8 by 8, $8 million, Boston would have about 500, $600,000 of cap space. So by the trade deadline, that would be like 1 to 2, that might be a $2 million of cap space that they now have to acquire new players.
yeah, go get a guy for the
And
penalty kill. Go get a guy for this. Yeah, for
but
sure.
now if Swayman and his agent are trying to milk Boston for everything and get an $8.5 million contract by 8 years, suddenly Boston has no ability to get better at the
Oh,
trade deadline because they
oh,
have
oh,
no cap space to accrue.
and that's not even the extent of it.
I just see it as
How
such a
how are
non.
you, Jeremy Swayman, going to go in the room after milking this team for every single cent you could
Yeah, you have two
and
options.
go
Is
and
either
go play
you're,
with the guys who all took less because they want to win? What the
hmm
fuck are you saying to Pasternak?
yeah,
What are you telling Marchand? Hey guys, no,
yeah.
we're gonna win a cup this year. Don't worry. I took every single dollar I could while the entire culture of this team for a decade was we take less because we want to be perennial contenders and
hmm
we want to win. And you're gonna walk in, we're already down a goalie. We had two great goalies last year. One's gone, you're the guy that's left, and now you're gonna milk
hmm
it for everything they have. What happens if they go on a losing streak? You think they're not saying, hey, Jeremy, thanks for taking $11 million. It'd be
Yeah,
nice to have another $3 million player right now.
it really would be. And looking at
Or
that
he
too,
or or he gets hurt.
It's the
Let's say
decision
let's
as
say Swayman gets
well.
hurt. You have no other goalie, like because you spend it all on him. You don't have a
hmm
backup. He goes out. Let's say it's not even LTIR, so you lose a bunch of games. It's like great, glad we have that $11 million sitting up in the press box.
hmm And it's like the easy decision of you could either sign if you sign the $8
He
million, that's already
has
probably
done
more than he should deserve. And then you
absolutely
can't acquire,
nothing to be the highest
yeah,
paid player in the league.
no,
None, or sorry, highest
highest
paid
paid
goaltender in
goaltender,
the league.
highest paid
Highest paid
goaltender,
goaltender in the league.
or even to make another
Who does he
goalie.
think he is?
Last year at this time, Connor Hellebuck signed his $8.5 million deal. Swayman does not have the same resume to compare himself to Connor Hellebuck to earn that $8.5 million deal. He hasn't played 50 or 60 games in a season. He hasn't
Oh, he had a
shown.
good save percentage in the playoffs, though. Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't have enough wins.
yeah,
The Bruins
that's
got
because
bounced.
They played against Toronto, then got bounced by
Fuck yeah,
Florida.
I could beat
Like,
the
Toronto
fucking
can't
Leafs.
score.
They beat
Yeah,
themselves
if he
every
were in net,
year,
Toronto still would have only scored 2 goals.
right? Like, oh my God, to use that as an idea is to be the highest paid goaltender.
hmm
Oh man, dude, is there any person
No,
who's
if
other
you're,
other than Bruins fans who doesn't have all the time in the world and all the appetite for this? Finally, some dysfunction in that organization. They've been too good for too
I'm eating
long,
it up.
and this is,
Eating it
oh,
up.
I am eating this up all day. Like, oh, mm, this is so needed. I
hmm
I hope that this saga continues for a long time and fucks with them mentally, because
Same.
there is not a team in the Atlantic Division that I want to see take a step back more than the Bruins.
Oh, exactly. And I'm so stuck on the idea involving accruing cap space and like acquiring players at the deadline because right now, looking at Boston's roster, they're a playoff team. I don't see them as contenders. However, if they were to add, let's say they added maybe like two good middle six players at the deadline, who knows, for like $1 million each when you retain salaries, which is what they
Yep.
could do if they
Let's say
accrue if
let's
they
say they
accrue a
stay
little bit of
healthy
cap
in
space. I
Florida.
could
Let's say that
see them I could
yeah,
see them be contenders with that roster, but
you
they
got
need to have
depth.
space to do that.
You need depth.
And for Swayman,
Boston,
it should
if
be
they stay
such an easy
healthy,
decision.
let's say
They
Point
don't have
gets
the
hurt.
depth healthy.
Let's say some players on the Leafs get hurt. All of a sudden, let's say Florida, they're still not 100% after winning the cup.
hmm
That's a window right there for the Bruins to win the division.
Yeah, right there.
Like
It's
this is one of the last years that they're going to actually have a chance to win a cup because,
no, I
they
don't
don't have
think
all the time in the world. Like
no.
eventually you're gonna get passed by these rebuilding teams. It's gonna happen. It's just
Yeah.
mathematically you can't be good forever. You have a limited amount of time, and him trying to milk the organization for every single cent, I love it.
It's just so
You
selfish
go, Jeremy.
and
You take every
yeah.
single dollar you can from them. And you go in that room and you go in that locker room and you start game one with your new ten and a
He better
half
post a
million dollar,
shutout his first
$11 million
game.
contract. And when you let in a goal, oh man, I want to see the look on those players' faces when they think, that's our $11 million goalie right there
Yeah.
getting beat by, let's say I'm first Bruins Senators game of the season. When is this? We gotta look at we gotta
I'm checking
watch
the
this.
schedule here to see what some of the
Oh man, I cannot wait for Allmark versus Swayman. I want
first game of
Allmark
the
to shut
season,
him
Bruins
out.
Panthers.
Bruins Panthers is going to be good, but I don't really think the Panthers give a shit.
No, I don't think that's one as well.
But the
Um,
Bruins versus
the
Allmark,
second game,
oh
Canadiens Bruins.
yeah, I'm excited for that one too. But
But like, let's say you're there and you have, I don't know, like who would it be? Let's say it is just one of their like bottom
yeah,
pair. Let's say it is someone like an Arbor Xhekaj
yeah,
just takes a shot from the blue line and just slips through. It's like something like that. Like he better put up a shutout in his first game
And let's say his
when he
head gets
comes
rattled
back.
too. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. No, this couldn't have come at a better time for me. Like this is everything I need is dysfunction in that organization. It's been too
I'm
good for too
checking
long.
here.
It's funny. I wonder how we look back at them because we speak with them with such reverence for how good they've been for so long. But if they don't just play the Leafs in the playoffs 4 times, do we still speak about them like this, or do they get bounced in the first round a couple more times and they're
They
just
had enough
another
deep
like?
rounds, I think. They had enough deep playoff runs.
But again, they had the advantage of just facing Toronto.
That does get you into like the second round, but they do have
It's a
they made
bye.
it to
It's a
they
bye.
made it to the cup
It's a bye into the
final in
second round.
2019.
If the Blue Jackets can beat the Leafs
They
to
had a
make it
whole
to the
bunch of
playoffs,
cup
that's a bye.
finals. They had some
It's been
cup
the
finals like
same
against
team
the
for years
Blackhawks,
now. It's been
2013
Morgan
and
Riley, John
2019.
Tavares, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews. Every year. William Nylander, same thing.
Hmm. They had
Oh,
some cup final appearances.
you take out freaking Mikheyev and you put in Domi or Bertuzzi or Thornton and Martley. You know what? None of these guys matter. It's
Yeah.
those guys, and they never show up. It's a bye. Anyways, I think
And
it's time to
also,
wrap,
there
gentlemen.
have been one thing I have seen, which I don't think anyone should take too much stock in. There's been a bunch of little news floating around, like, oh, maybe, and now Swayman's considering asking for a trade.
Hmm.
Not, I haven't seen any from an actual reputable reporter like a Chris Johnson or an Elliot Friedman. It's just been a bunch of random stuff. So I wouldn't put too much stock into something like that. Chances are chances are the Swayman deal gets done soon, and it's just every single penny of cap space the Bruins have left for the season goes to him, which I think isn't warranted. He hasn't earned that level of money, and it's also really selfish because you stunt your team's ability to grow and get better throughout the season and improve at the deadline. They suddenly have to
I
shed pieces to gain pieces.
I actually think that they either let someone don't not play and they go as Cuposello, who
Ah,
while
they don't
had
have.
Cuposello, while he did have a terrible season with Ottawa, he had a decent season with Columbus and he had a good season with LA. He's a good goalie who, if he has defense in front of him, can do well.
Korpisalo can do well. I
And
wouldn't.
and Boston's
I
a
don't
good
trust him to
defensive
do a
team.
deep playoff run. Like I could trust him to win a round in the playoffs, but
I
he's not a playoff starting goalie. He's
I would
not a
say
cup winning goalie. He wouldn't if you don't. I don't see him as the goalie winning a cup there with this team.
I've seen him letting Swayman walk. Well, wait it out until he takes a cheaper deal.
Hmm.
And then William was Cuposello, and if he doesn't take a deal and it goes to free agent, they use that money to buy somebody else,
I see that
somebody good.
reasoning. The one thing is looking at the schedule for the Bruins, they have some high stakes games. Like they play in the first couple weeks, they play the Panthers twice, they play the Avalanche, they have like they play against the Canadiens. I guess they don't have that. They only have a couple interdivisional games before they go on to a quick Central Division road trip, which could help because but if you're playing some of these teams that most of the ones I mentioned there are expected to be in the playoffs contending for division titles, you want to have your best roster available so you don't slip down the standings at all.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, Corpusalo could win you those games. He's done it with LA. He's done it with Columbus. Like I
He
don't.
can win the games, but you don't see him win more than like the odd one playoff round before the team folds.
Yeah,
Gets
but
put out.
that's. I mean, he's only made the playoffs once, and that's
He
with
was on
LA.
LA with LA. He made the playoffs
Yeah,
with Columbus in 2020 when they
did Columbus make it that
he
year?
yeah, it was the they
Oh,
because they beat
this
Toronto in the play-ins and then lost to Tampa Bay.
2020. That would have been what's it called?
Yeah, it was the bubble.
That's a lockout year. Toronto was playing the Canadian teams.
No, that was 2021.
That was COVID. That was
That was
2021. Yeah,
2021.
2019 was ended by COVID
Yeah.
in
2019, 2020.
January, and then
Oh,
The
they
you
had
mean
the
that?
bubble
Yes,
playoffs after
yes,
they played about 70 games each per
yes. That's
team,
right.
yeah
and then the next year,
was
starting
the
in like January, I think.
Right, right.
North Division.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the Scotiabank North Division,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? That's what it was called.
Well, gotta get the sponsor in.
You have
No,
to
I don't want to.
legally.
We're not sponsored by Scotiabank, so I don't need to.
We're not,
Scotiabank, you
but they
may or may not
sponsor
be
the
you may or may
Scotiabank
not be
North
as rich as
Division.
you think, but who knows?
I'm poorer than
I
you.
can't tell. I can't tell how rich people are, and thus Scotiabank pays us to tell you.
Apparently, you're richer than you think,
No, hey, what?
allegedly.
Whoa, hey, whoa, we're not sponsored. Get this out of here.
Huh?
Bank
No,
wherever
that's
you
that.
want. Bank wherever you want. Go bank
Should we wrap
anywhere
it up here,
until
boys?
yeah, probably.
Kind of falling off. Like and
Yeah,
subscribe. Tell all your friends.
I don't know. Can we say
The
that?
hosers are back in town.
Can we say
Huh?
that combo? Are we gonna get? Can we say it that combo of
Like,
words?
subscribe, discuss with your acquaintances.
There you go. Discuss with people you know. There we go.